the council meeting, members of the public cannot address the meeting outside of public question time, must not interject or act offensively, must remain seated, must switch your mobile phones to mute, must not operate any recording device, audio or visual, without obtaining consent from the Chief Executive Officer at least 3 days prior to the council meeting, and can display placards or posters provided they're not offensive, do not obstruct entrances and exits to the chamber or impede any view or person. Can you please treat councillors, staff and community members with courtesy and respect? Okay, thank you. The meeting will start shortly.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our ordinary council meeting, Monday the 16th of March 2026. Item 1, 1.1, opening meeting. 1.2, attendance. Ms. Verrill, do you have any apologies this evening?
Yes, Mayor. We have an apology this evening from Councillor Lana Formoso, and I just need to remind everyone that Councillor Alice Fung Lee is online this evening, so she'll be above us. Thank you.
And welcome back, Councillor Isabella Doe. Item 1.3, acknowledgement of traditional custodians of land. For those who wish to stand for acknowledgement to country are welcome to do so. We acknowledge the traditional custodians of this land, the Bunurong people, and pay respect to their elders, past and present. We recognise and respect their continuing connections to climate, culture, country, and waters. And we also pay our respects and acknowledge all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people and the elders present here today in acknowledging their journey. Item 1.4, offering of prayer, reflection, or affirmation. As part of Council's commitment to recognising the cultural and spiritual diversity of our community, the prayer, reflection or affirmation this evening will be offered by Ross Blades AM, a member of the Jewish community, that will be read by Councillor Rana Garrett. Thanks.
I'm here.
Oh,
I'm here.
sorry, Ross. I thought you're not here. So when you're ready, thank you.
Oh, yeah. Thanks very much, Madam Mayor. Hello, everyone. So I'm delighted to present the Jewish prayer on behalf of the Interfaith Network. We pray for our nation's history and acknowledge the Indigenous sacrifice of the past and the pains and terror of our history, and trust in our relationships of the future. We will learn to honour, nurture and sustain each other. Almighty God, who favours humanity with knowledge and teaches mortals understanding, we beseech you to favour us, and especially the councillors of the City of Greater Dandenong, with the knowledge, the understanding and the insight that comes from you, so that your deliberations may truly be for the well-being of all of our citizens. Blessed are you, Almighty God, gracious giver of wisdom and knowledge. Shalom, shalom, aleichem.
Thank you so much, Ross.
You're welcome. Bye, everyone.
Item 1.5, confirmation of minutes of previous meeting. Is there a mover? Moved by Councillor Garrett, seconded by Councillor O'Reilly. Are there any questions? Is there any opposition? As there's no opposition, the item is carried. Item 1.6, disclosures of interest. Ms. Verrill.
Thank you, Mayor. I have two disclosures of interest for item 4.2.3 this evening, the Large Grants Program 2026. The first is from Councillor Lloyd Trong, who's a councillor. He's declared a general conflict of interest. He is the Vice President of SEMVAC, and so he will be absenting himself from this item. And yourself, Mayor, Councillor Sophie Tan, has also declared an interest in item 4.3 4.2.3, the large grants program item. Again, it's a general conflict of interest under section 127. She's the president of the Cambodian Women's Group of Victoria Unincorporated. She's not an executive member of the Cambodian Association, just a normal member, but the groups share the same address details. The Cambodian Women's Group's under the umbrella of the Cambodian Association of Victoria, and the Mayor will also be absenting herself for that item. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Ms. Verrill. So now we're going to go to item 2, Officers' Reports, Part 1. 2.1, Statutory Planning Applications. 2.1.1, Planning Delegate Decisions issued February 2026.
Happy to move.
Moved by Councillor Mamidi. Is there a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Garrard. Are there any questions? Is there any opposition? As there's no opposition, the item is carried. Item 3, public question time. Question times at council meeting provides an opportunity for members of the public in the gallery to address questions to the councillors, delegates, and or officers of the City of Greater Dandenong City Council. Questions must comply with S.4.5.8 of Council Governance Rules. Ms. Verrill.
Thank you, Mayor. And our first question this evening is from Terry Wilkinson of Keysborough. If Terry Wilkinson would like to come up to the microphone, please. I understand Terry is in the audience this evening.
Welcome, Terry.
Three questions regarding the proposed demolition of the squash courts at Oasis Dandenong. How does this decision to demolish the community squash courts and the squash courts align with policies supporting community sport participation?
Do you want to read all 3 questions first, or you want?
I can do that, yep.
Thanks.
And number 2, how will the council replace the health and fitness opportunities currently provided by the squash courts? And number 3, if these facilities are demolished, what guarantee can the council give residents that equivalent or better community sporting opportunities will be provided locally?
Thank you,
Terry.
Mr. Wilkinson. Can I ask Peter Gillies to respond?
Certainly, through you, Mayor. Hi, Terry. Thanks for being here tonight and for your ongoing advocacy around the squash courts, particularly at Dandenong Oasis. We really appreciate that. I'll answer your questions in order. So, question 1, Council has committed to the development of Dandenong Wellbeing Centre, and as part of that, as you know, there is plans that, other than the table tennis section, that the remainder of the facility of Oasis will be demolished upon the opening of the new Dandenong Wellbeing Centre. That commitment aligns with Council's Make You Move strategy, which is an endorsed strategy by Council. And the Council plan, the rationale behind demolishing that facility, obviously it's well past its lifespan, and the current, having been built in 1976, it is past the end of life. Retaining the facility except for the table tennis area, which we're looking at quite specifically, would require quite significant capital upgrades, and it's something that Council just cannot afford to do. It's just not viable for us in terms of that specific component of the centre. Question 2, we don't have current plans for like-for-like replacement of the squash courts. We have, however, recently installed 3 paddle courts at Noble Park Aquatic Centre, and we're continuing to expand opportunities for participation in pickleball across the municipality through both indoor stadiums and outdoor tennis facilities. I do recognise, though, that is different to squash, but I did want to highlight that we are focused on building infrastructure and investing in infrastructure that demonstrates our commitment to sport and rec participation, and particularly in activities that are evolving and emerging within our community. I'd just add to that, in terms of question 3, we are demonstrating our commitment to significant investment in new sport and rec infrastructure across the municipality, and we are committed to the development and delivery of infrastructure that supports participation, again in a broad sense, but also looking at trends, emerging trends, and in recreation activities, both now and into the future, and hence the squash courts haven't been proposed to be retained post the demolition of the facility.
Yeah, okay, so do you recognise the value of having these squash courts in the community? It's a facility that can be used for people of all ages, different cultural backgrounds. People come together to use these facilities. Friendships are made. I think it's a huge loss to the community to lose these squash courts, as there are no other alternatives, other squash courts in the areas around Dandenong. So it's a massive loss to the community, I think.
If I may add, Mayor, certainly, do recognise that we do have members of the community utilising that squash facility, and certainly, although numbers have sort of significantly declined, it's very important for those that can access it. I'm happy to share with you, and I know it's not the same as Oasis, but there's certainly 4 or 5 facilities within our immediate border and surrounding areas that are available.
Yeah, but there's no room for us to go into those areas because they're already at capacity. They can't fit us in. We wouldn't even be able to get a court. Mm-hmm. So numbers, they peak and they fall all the time. And what it really needs is support from the council, not promote the sport. You've got 6 possible courts that could be used there. It's a massive. It'll be a huge loss.
Thank you. We hear you, Terry. We already asked your question,
Yep.
so Officer raised answer. So any further information, we can also speak with you after this as well.
Okay.
Thank you.
No
Thank you
worries,
so
thanks.
much.
Thank you for that question. Our next speaker for a question this evening is Zabi Mazuri of Dandenong, and they're asking a question about funding allocation for the Nowruz Festival 27-28. Is Zabi here? Yes, would you like to come up to the microphone, please?
Welcome, Zabi.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor, all councillors and staff member of Greater Dandenong Council. My question is regarding reduction of funding for the Nowruz Festival, which is the celebration of New Year for many communities, including the African community. The council's funding in previous years has significantly helped us successfully organize this event, and the event is growing every year, with over 10,000 participants from all multicultural communities participating, and it's become one of the major events in Dandenong and city of Greater Dandenong. As you know, Nowruz continues with the expansion. The cost of organizing such events also increases, and our question is that in the previous years we have had funding of 40,000 per year, including this year. But for the 2027 and 2028, the funding has been reduced to half, which is 20,000 for each year. And last year, our cost of hosting this festival was around 180,000 a year. My question is to all the council and the councillors that with the increased cost of hosting this festival needs further funding and increase in funding, not a reduction in funding. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I please ask Ms Gillies to respond, please?
Through you, Mayor. Thank you as well for being here tonight. We really appreciate you all coming along. Council is making the decision later this evening in regards to the recommendations for successful applicants for our large grants program. So that will be a decision made by councillors later this evening. What I will note is Council receives a significant number of funding requests through our large grant program, with increasing demand for funding to support so many community events and programs in the municipality. Unfortunately, Council is constrained in its ability to support all applications. It's also important to note that historical funding does not guarantee future funding, and we encourage groups to continue to look at ways to ensure their events can be self-sustaining. To highlight for the community the increasing demand for our grants, this year our festival and events funding stream received applications equaling 4 times more than the amount that we actually have available. This is a significant increase in applications from community groups. and far exceeds our budget allocations. As a result, the process is highly competitive, with the panel considering all applications before making a recommendation. Each application is assessed thoroughly and it's on its own merit to ensure the best possible outcomes within the restraints that we've got. I'd also really like to note that the recommended funding allocations for yourselves or for any of our groups, it's not intended to reflect the value of the event, nor the event in our community. It is very much focused on our financial restraints and the significant demand for these grant programs. This year, what I will say is the majority of our applications, the majority of them did not receive anywhere near what they had requested because there were so many applications. They have all come in under what their actual application amount was. I do want to congratulate Van on the event though and the success last year, and look forward to Council making a decision later this evening.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sally. Ms. Vettel?
Thank you, Mayor. And our next question is from Gay Guest of Keysborough, and I will read it out. It's a request for concerning accountability and enforcement of planning policies. Our local government is being subjected to many desktop assessments for future expansion with no data or real-time future projections. These include the Market Master Plan, Capital Alliance, tram train activity centres and now kinders on school sites. So-called experts cannot provide data or reasoning around sunlight hours, village character, size of rooms, tree canopy coverage. In 10 years has shown dismal increase under trees and greening. Environmental impacts, impacts on small businesses when no parking is included, traffic transport projections including flow parking, open space amenities, safety lighting, managing community change, learning from other places. Images of overseas war-torn countries including fire and flood zones reveal tar and cement with no greenery in sight, and many people are now displaced. Heights, wind tunnels, sunlight hours are a huge concern as people are disgusted with the height of 51 Douglas Street, and heritage sites and RSL land need to be excluded because of unconditional titles. No subdivision boundaries should be shown. We have new builds that are vacant, uninhabitable because of incorrect planning. As an island country, we need to protect our towns and suburbs from such invasion, not create future disaster zones. Chainsaws operate daily, weekly, and council allows canopy trees to be removed for no apparent reason. Why does council take such a softly approach and not enforce their policies and procedures on any of this planning? Otherwise, council and its officers do not serve their role properly. It can seem like an uphill battle trying to fight authorities, but we must remember that council is a body that in the end is under the control of its inhabitants, and there exists tools to exert our influence on every agenda item brought to council. No more mismanagement allowed when futures are affected. Can I ask Sanjay Manavasakasavam to respond, please?
Through you, Mayor. Thank you for your question, Gay. Council continually advocates to the state government for the best outcomes for the community. This is highlighted in the draft submission in response to the DTP Activity Centres program that listed on the council meeting agenda for tonight. This submission recommends that DTP amend the activity centre plans for both Springvale and Noble Park to align with the existing structure plan for these areas. These structure plans are based on significant analysis and planning to achieve housing growth in line with the intent of the activity centres program, while also ensuring the character and the amenity of these areas are protected and enhanced. Thank you for your question.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next question.
Yes, Mayor. So the next question is also from Gay Guest of Keysborough, and it concerns a request for transparency on costs and benefits of council-funded community events. Council injects major funds to events like the Ramadan night market, yet we never hear about the returns or supposed benefits this expenditure enables. Feedback is that the monthly event was too big and people of the faith migrated to Burden Park event because they could shop at their leisure, be better served and quicker, and not pushed and shoved around in long queues. Safety and perceptions of safety should be paramount. The ripple effect must be taken into account, especially whereby parking became unavailable and daytime workers were inconvenienced. Second question, what were the supposed benefits, especially as the money was spent on an event that largely only benefited a minority portion of CGD residents but included visitors from goodness knows where? Can I ask Ms Gillies to respond, please?
Through you, Mayor. Thanks very much, Gay, for your question. Council's evaluation of the benefits of this event are guided by the broader economic, social and placemaking activities and outcomes. It's not just tied to attendance alone. The recent 16-night month-long market event in Thomas Street positioned City of Greater Dandenong as a major events destination within Victoria, contributing to raising the profile of Dandenong as a vibrant evening precinct and challenging historical safety perceptions by activating the city safely after 7 p.m, a time when the municipality is generally very quiet, the precinct. The market delivered direct economic benefits by increasing visitation and spending across Dandenong Central, specifically Thomas Street, Lonsdale Street, Walker Street and Little India, as well as surrounding hospitality and retail businesses. Many local businesses also chose to participate in the night market, as well as registered vendors, increasing their trade and capturing return business for their bricks and mortar shops. While visitors certainly did attend from outside our municipality, we view this as a really positive outcome. External visitation translates into additional spending within the City of Greater Dandenong, supporting local businesses and employment and resulting in an increased likelihood of a return visit. From a community perspective, the event provided an important opportunity for cultural visibility, including civic pride for our local community, while remaining open and accessible to the broader public, which is something the organisers deliberately targeted. This is intended to deliver greater social cohesion value over time. We did observe the crowds included people from diverse backgrounds, not only the Muslim community. The social media of the event also reflected this, and we are pleased to see the event amplified by so many social media accounts, including some very large influential voices with huge reach and positive sentiment about Dandenong going viral across Victoria and beyond. Council's contributions focus both on financial support through our community funding program, as well as in-kind office support to ensure that the event was carried out in a safe and successful manner. In terms of possible future support, I note tonight the large grants program is scheduled for council decision. The report notes that we did receive one funding application, which was for the Ramadan night markets, for next year and the following year, but officers have recommended that due to the size and scope of this program and indeed the size of the application, it far exceeds the criteria for that program, and therefore we've excluded it from the officer recommendation to give us opportunity to do a detailed evaluation of the outcomes of the 2026 event, as well as a detailed assessment of the proposed 2027 event. A separate recommendation will be subject to a future council decision. I'll also note that our 2025 grant outcomes report, which outlines all of the outcomes from the grants that Council has provided to community organisation, is soon to be published. So I'll make sure I send through a copy, but it will be available on our website and through our council meeting papers. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question, Ms. Bedell.
Thank you, Mayor. And Gay Guest's final question for her. It concerns clarification on council consultation for AP 148478Q on Heatherton Road. DTP have advertised that 1141 to 1143 Heatherton Road, application reference number AP 148478Q, has applied to become the registered owner of the land through adverse possession for encumbrances, carriageway easement dated 16th of February 2026. So today is the last date of reply. Has Council been consulted about this, given it's in the tram train activity centre boundaries and borders the Memorial Drive car parking behind the residents facing Heatherton Road? Can I please ask Ms Marjan Hajari, Executive Director, Strategy and Corporate Services, to respond, please?
To you, Mayor. Thank you for the question. Council is aware of the application to acquire a portion of the easement of the rear of the 1141 to 1143 Heatherton Road. The application applies to a portion of land that is still in the name of the original subdivider and has been lawfully occupied. Council is not the current owner of the land. There is no impact on the car park at the rear of the land, and there are no assets in the easement. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Next question, Ms. Bedram.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And the next question is from Kim Handley of Dandenong. Over 10 years ago, Dandenong Council advised residents they were investigating installing painted parking lanes along Hammond Road between Webster Street and the Dandenong bypass. This was never accomplished, and recently Council has again said they would be investigating this matter. Can Council please advise what residents need to do to ensure that Council does finally do this? Can I ask Mr Manavasagasavam to respond, please?
Through you, Mayor. Thank you, Kim, for your question. I know that you have raised a number of questions relating to traffic and parking in this area at number of council meetings. Our traffic engineers have tried to reach out to you several times to discuss these matters without success. You are always welcome to talk to our team, who would be happy to give you detailed and timely information or even meet you on site to discuss any concerns in greater details. As previously answered, there had been several significant road projects on Hammond Road within the last 10 years, including alterations to the traffic signals at Kirkham Road and the widening of path on the western side. On each occasion, community consultation was undertaken to guide the outcome of the project. For now, we are not going to make any ongoing changes to Hammond Road until the conclusion of the Webster Street level crossing removal project. Later in the year, when the new underpass at the rail line being finished, we expect there will be a period of heavily increased traffic on Hammond Road prior to traffic volumes dropping significantly once the project concludes. Once the project concludes, Council will investigate potential alterations to Hammond Road to suit the anticipated ongoing traffic conditions. As usual, we will consult with the community and users at that time before making any firm decision. Even then, it is likely that people will have different views and not everyone will be able to see their ideal solution come to fruition. We do commit to listen to carefully to various stakeholders and bring expert advice to delivering the best possible outcomes. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions? That's it. Thank you. Before we go to the next item, I'm just going to go back to, my apology, I missed this one. So 1.5, confirmation of minutes of previous meeting again. Councillor Garrett wasn't at the meeting, so we need a different mover. Is anyone else can move? Thank you. Moved by Deputy Mayor Dunn and seconded by Councillor Mamedi. All good? Thank you. Thanks. Right, so now, are there any questions on this one? Is there any opposition? There's no opposition, the item's carried. Thanks. So next one is item 4, Officers' Reports, Part 2. 4.1, Policy and Strategy. 4.1.1, Draft Our Bright Green Future Strategies. Is there a mover, please?
Move, Councillor O'Reilly.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor O'Reilly. Is there a seconder?
Second by Councillor Yim.
Seconded by Councillor Yim. Are there any questions? Yes, Councillor Garrett.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a very comprehensive strategy, and well done to those who have put it together. My questions are four. I have 4 questions. The first of which is that this is a consolidation, I understand, of a number of plans and strategies. Can the officer outline if any of our environmental plans or strategies have been made redundant in favour of this strategy? My second question is that the plan rightly identifies that heat and heat waves are the biggest killer of all natural disasters, and the evidence suggests the way to address that is to cool our streets and our neighbourhoods. My question is, therefore, why do we not find in this plan major street planting programs, shaded walking corridors, greening of commercial and industrial zones, and tree planting where we have identified heat islands. There seems to be a complete absence of that. Also, this is a 10-year plan. It talks about our 15% goal, which we've almost achieved. So why is there not a progression on that 15% that will take us through to the next decade? And my last question is that it proposes a reduction of 10% in our waste, and yet we are tied into a minimum waste contract. And so therefore, if we reduce our waste by 10% by 2030, we actually might incur financial penalties for the contract that we signed with our waste contractor. They're my 4 questions. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Garrett. Could I please ask Mr. Brett Jackson to respond? Thank you.
Through you, Mayor, and thank you for the question, Councillor Garrett. In terms of the first question with regards to the existing strategies, yes, the intention is that if this is adopted tonight, it will supersede the existing strategies. And as the report outlines, it's about consolidating those strategies into one clear and focused strategy for Council to take the next step in its climate journey. So that is the intention in terms of question 1. In terms of questions with regards to urban cooling and tree planting, there is actually an action under theme 6, which is trees and greening, which looks to do some urban heat island mapping over the next 2 years to identify our areas that are of the biggest risk from heating, as you spoke about, and look to then develop some strategic plans as to how we move forward following the completion of our current 15% canopy coverage target, which is we're aiming to meet by 2028. So the plan is over the next couple of years to develop those, do the mapping and then develop a plan and a strategy as to how we move forward with the next phase of greening our city and obviously cooling that and making it much more livable and enjoyable for our community. And then the waste. Thank you. I was trying to remember what the final question was. In terms of waste, yes, certainly acknowledge that we are locked into that contract, and obviously that's something we need to be mindful of, but it's also a balance of making sure that we are able to reduce waste where we can. We are going to have an increase in our population as well, so our waste is unlikely to go down, but if what we want to avoid it is continually going up. And having a greater focus with our community around recycling, there is the new glass bin that will be introduced next year as well, which will hopefully also increase recycling across the municipality. So it's about getting that balance of, obviously, yeah, we have a contract, but also how do we reduce the amount of material that needs to go to landfill and to other services.
Thank you for the question, Councillor Riley.
Thank you, Mayor. Just to clarify this being locked into the waste contracts, my understanding that Council has not finalised itself in the, which is what I think is being referred to, the multi-council waste strategy that had pricing around reduction of 10%, etc. So I just wanted to get that clarified, whether we're locked into anything at all in terms of reducing waste. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Riley. Could I get Mr. Manifagasisawam to respond, please?
Through you, Mayor. Thank you for that. Yes, we are part of the multi-councils contract. However, we haven't committed all our waste to that amount. So it's only, there's a buffer in our waste, and we only minimally contributed a certain amount of tonnage for that contract, and all the other tonnages that we have that needs to go to the landfill, which we could look at reducing that by 10%. That's what we are targeting.
Through you, Mayor, can I just add to that, to Mr Jackson's comments? If you look at the housing projections the Victorian State Government have provided to us, even if we achieved a fraction of those, then, if you look at the growth in the population and the fact that we're holding back, I think we're well and truly within the parameters in the waste that we're committed to. But it's a good point that you raised. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions? Is there an opposition? If there's no opposition, the item is carried. Thank you. Item 4.1.2, Policy Review, Abolition of Operational Policies. So do you have a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Garrard. Is there a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Dole. Are there any questions? Is there any opposition? As there's no opposition, the items carried. Item 4.1.3, Rates, Hardship and Assistance Policy 2026. Is there a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Garrard. Is there a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Yim. Are there any questions? Yes, Councillor Garrard.
Through you, Mayor, thank you. I wish to congratulate those who have put this together. It's a comprehensive hardship policy, and it is a significant progression from our last hardship policy. It includes things such as interest on overdue rates can be paused during hardship arrangements, flexible payment systems tailored to the resident's financial capacity, deferral of rate payments in cases of genuine hardship, waiver of interest or penalties where possible, early engagement and support, encouraging residents to help out of their debt situation, and a clearer and more transparent process of application. My question is around how we actually inform people effectively that there are these provisions. We anticipate we are going into a very difficult financial hardship phase for all of us with the current war happening, the war of choice. And my question is, how are we actually informing rather than just having this sit on our website? For example, are we an active participant in the Bring Your Bills Day, which is the highly successful event run by the Southeast Community Links?
Thank you. Can I get Ms. Kirsten Jerry to respond? Thank you.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Garrard. In terms of how the community will be informed, we plan to put website information up. We have updated forms. We will likely do some advertising with our rates notice that will come out mid-year. And there's a various sort of access points that ratepayers can come to us on. So, thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions? No? Yes, Ms. Gillies, you want to respond to that?
Through you, Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Garrard. I absolutely agree that day that Southeast Community Links run, the Bring Your Bills Day, actually enables residents to come along and to connect directly with utilities companies, as an example, and they see significant amounts of debt and overdue payments eradicated on the day. It's quite extraordinary. Certainly we do participate and support in that. We're also active supporters of SECL, or Councillor active supporters of SECL, Southeast Community Links, but certainly it's another avenue as well that we could share with SECL so that they can share it with their members as well.
Thank you. Any further questions, councillors? No? Is there opposition? As there's no opposition, the items carried. Item 4.2, Other. 4.2.1, Reconciliation Action Plan, Pre-Community Consultation. Moved by Councillor Garrard. Is there a seconder? Seconded by Deputy Mayor Dan. Are there any questions? Is there a opposition? As there's no opposition, the items carry. Yes, Councillor Garrard.
Thank you, Mayor. I also want to thank the staff that have been part of the development of this action plan. It's very important. I think what's really important about this is that it establishes our way of working with our Indigenous population, and that it has very tangible outcomes, such as employment opportunities, helping with developing businesses and expanding businesses, and has a range of very practical and tangible outcomes. And so I congratulate all those involved.
Thank you, Councillor Garrard. Going to go to the next item. Item 4.2.2, Domestic Animal Management Plan. Is there a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Garrard. Is there a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Yim. Are there any questions? Yes, Councillor Garrard.
Mayor, my question is around some of the costs. I know that this is an overall strategy, but my questions are around some of the cost. Is the registration of animals that is increasing, thankfully, is that in any way making this a cost a cost equivalent? Is it making it a cost neutral service for us, or is there considerable cost to us beyond the registration process? My other question is, in the past 2 years, we've had runaway costs regarding impoundment, and we've had out of control costs. My question is, what does this do to confine those costs? And do we have any real strategies to house or impound our animals more locally and not have to use the more expensive services out of the City of Greater Dandenong?
Thank you, Councillor Garrett. Could I please get Mr. Manifagasis to respond? Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Through you, Mayor. Currently, it's cost council subsidised significantly for this service. 9% of our entire population owns domestic animals, and also the cost varies from the subsidy varies from 90 to 100% subsidy on number of services. So we are looking at number of opportunities and also different options to manage that. One of them is around looking at some options to hold animals within our municipality temporarily for a day or so. So we are exploring options. Once that been gone through that process, that will reduce the cost. And the other options we are looking at through our budget process and also fees and charges. We are looking at different opportunities to recover some of the cost. That will be looked through the budget process over the next couple of months.
Yes, Councillor Garrett.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Just a final question, just around driving change, behaviour change. Are we developing a titrated fee system where we are driving change, and so that the subsequent or recalcitrant pet owners are charged more, and the first charge is lower? Also, do we have concession fee structure?
Through you, Mayor, yes, we are looking at all those options. Council hasn't made any decision on that, but through the budget process they will do. So we are encouraging the right behaviour at the initial stage, but if it is a repeated offence, we'll look at more costly, and also we will look at what are the other pension card holders or concession card holders. We'll get some look at some discount through that process as well.
Thank you. Are there any further questions, councillors? No? Is there opposition? As there's no opposition, the item is carried. Item 4.2.3, Large Grants Programs 2026. Before we go ahead for this one, I myself, the Mayor, Councillor Sophie Tan, wish to declare conflict of interest in relation to this agenda item. Just regarding to the conflict is a general conflict of interest under Section 127 of the Local Government Act 2020. I myself, also the president of the Cambodian Women's Group of Victoria and Incorporated. I'm not the executive member of the Cambodian Association of Victoria, just a normal member, but we share the same address, and the Cambodian Women's Group is under an umbrella of the Cambodian Association of Victoria. So I will not participate in any debate or vote on this matter, and I will leave the room now, and I will ask the Deputy Mayor Philip Down to take the chair, and also Councillor Chung also got a conflict too. Thanks.
Item 4.2.3, Large Grants Program 2026. Councillor Mamedi.
I'd like to move an amendment that we, item 4, that Council approves the awarding of an increase to the Victorian Afghan Association Network Grant from $20,000 to $40,000 per year for the festivals and events sponsorship category for 2026-27 and 2027-28.
Amendment moved by Councillor Mehmeti. Is there a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Garrard. Is there any opposition to the amendment? Are there any questions? As there is no opposition, I declare the item amended and passed.
Deputy Mayor, I'd like to just speak on this. Thank the officers and also the panel members for their great work they've done. I just thought that they're a bit short on the Victorian Afghan Association Network. The Nowruz Festival has been going on for quite a few years now, and I do remember in the early beginnings they were hosting it at the showgrounds and quickly outgrew that location pretty quickly after a couple of years. They do host that function now at Dandenong Park, which is a beautiful event, over 10,000 visitors, people right across our city, but also from Casey and afar. And I think Van, who do a fantastic job within the community, deserve this money. They're going to find it tough this year with the cost of living pressure. I know that they look at getting sponsorship for the event, and that's going to dry up, as we know. Things are drying up everywhere at the moment. But also to the other community groups, all the community hubs, and that do a fantastic job. There's many there to number. We do, we give them $80,000 each to run these hubs, which they do a fantastic job. But also the other people who got a recipient of these grants do a fantastic job in our community. And as one councillor who's been here a long time, without this money, these would not be able to go ahead supporting our community. So I thank my fellow councillors for unanimously supporting the grants.
Were there any other comments? Councillor Garrard.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to echo Councillor Mehmeti's words. I attended last year. It was an outstanding event, and I think this has corrected an error, really, for such an extraordinary event of this scale. I thank Councillor Mehmeti for putting that forward. I would also point out, just on the grant scheme, that there has been criticism that we do not broadcast properly all of the grants on our website, what grants we have given, and the outcomes as they have been measured against the objectives. Are we able to actually do that so there's more transparency about who? That would be great. Thank you.
Ms Gillies.
Through you, Deputy Mayor. Certainly, Councillor Garrard, so we do publish in our annual report all of the recipients of the grants, and we publish the recipients in the annual report, and we do a summary report at the end of each year once all acquittals have been submitted and reviewed, a summary document on our website in terms of the outcomes of those community grants. So 2025 outcomes report is just being finalised at the moment and will be published soon.
Thank you very much, Ms Gillies. Were there any other comments? Oh, the Mayor and Councillor Trung may return. Thank you.
Right, thank you. We're going to go to next item. Item 4.2.4, proposed MAV notice of motions. Could I please get a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Garrard, seconded by Councillor O'Reilly. Are there any questions? Yes, Councillor Garrard.
Thank you, Mayor. My question is, with all the effort and time put into our MAV motions, have we ever actually seen any one of them come to fruition? I know it's a wish list. I know what we're putting up is a wish list that MAV will then advocate. But in my 6 years here, I have never seen any motion that we have slaved over and spent considerable time on come to fruition. Just wondering, does the council, can we name one outcome of the numerous motions we put up over time?
Through you, Mayor, certainly Councillor Garrard, we're happy to take that on notice, although Councillor O'Reilly, who's the MAV representative, may like to provide a comment in regards to success historically.
Yes, Councillor O'Reilly.
Thank you, Mayor. Being the MAV representative for a number of years, particularly where there are huge issues, to follow the thread of Greater Dandenong moved motion at the MAV advocating to, say, for example, the Victorian government, and then Victorian government outcome, sometimes hard to follow. But I agree with Councillor Garrard that we shouldn't be slaving over these motions. But as they're well written as they are, they're expressing council's intent, which, if adopted by the MAV council, then becomes policy and things that MAV can advocate on behalf of the whole of the local government sector in Victoria to the Victorian government. So, for example, one of the motions we've got is social housing. Well, that's a huge issue, and that's something that Victorian government is constantly calibrating the policy and resource to that particular effort. So it is quite hard to join the dots. But look, I understand Councillor Garrard's concerns, but I still think that this council should be putting forward the issues that we think are important to the MAV, who will then subsequently advocate at a Victorian-wide level to the Victorian government on. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Martin, do you want to say something?
Through you, Mayor, if I just add, and thank you, Councillor Garrett, for your question. It is right, it is not easy, especially if we are advocating for the policy change rather than the funding. As Councillor O'Reilly mentioned, probably is not easy to follow. However, we really took the concerns that you have because we understand, and I'm proud to say that this year what we are putting forward is really in a topic of the housing, which is a very, very live issue. Plus, we are the secretary of the Regional Charter Council, which is 13 councils in the region. And all the motions that we put forward has been endorsed, and it will be a letter of the support from the CEOs from these councils to go along with the motion. This is a different approach we are undertaking, which to make sure we are not just advocating in isolation, but we have a group of the people and the case studies along with that, and hopefully it can get a bit more attention.
Thank you. Any further questions? Is there a opposition? As there's no opposition, the item is carried. Next item, item 4.2.5, Canopy Cover Audit 2025. Is there a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Garrard, seconder, Councillor Dole. Are there any questions? Yes, Councillor Garrard.
Thank you, Mayor. Can the relevant officer just confirm the methodology? My understanding for this audit is that it is a 1,000-point audit, so that you take 1,000 points randomly across that scan, and that to get a 0.5 increase is in fact only around about 5 of those 1,000 dots showing a slight increase in greening. Can we just confirm that that actually is a methodology?
Mr. Brett Jackson, do you want to respond?
Through you, Mayor, and thank you for the question, Councillor Garrard. Yes, it is a 1,000-point sample that's undertaken across in a number of instances. So there's one that's done across the entire municipality, one that's done just on residential land, private land, one that's done on public land, and one that's done through each of the suburbs across the municipality. So it is a standard methodology that's used by a number of councils based on sort of current technology. And as I sort of spoke about before with the Our Bright Green Future strategy, the intention is that we'll look at potentially something a little bit more sophisticated in future years as technology increases once we achieve the 2028 target. So that is correct.
Thank you. Councillor Garrard.
Yes, thank you. And certainly we would not stop doing it, but it is a very crude measure. And my question is, we're seeing that private land trees are disappearing at a very fast rate. And we're seeing that on public land or council-owned land, we are seeing an expansion of trees. So what we're not necessarily seeing is the trees planted where they'll protect us, where we are moving around in the heat islands, in the commercial areas, along streets and so on. We're actually seeing them in parks, and we're actually seeing them where people are not necessarily moving around a lot, and we're not seeing them particularly in neighbourhoods other than your nature strip tree. Do we need to stop now, given this is very crude information, and rather than celebrate the 0.5% increase, really stop and assess our strategy as to whether it's working, given that we are actually not seeing a greening across the whole municipality, which is actually our aim.
Mr. Jackson.
Through you, Mayor, and again, thank you for the question. We are seeing greening across the municipality. Every suburb across Greater Dandenong has increased its canopy coverage since the last audit back in 2023. The same goes for private land. We've seen an increase in private land canopy coverage as well. It's important, though, I think that Council continues to do its planting. I wouldn't recommend that we stop doing planting and reassess how we potentially audit this or we map this. As I said, the measure that is currently used was the measure that was the best product at the time when we started this, and the decision was made to continue with that. So we're comparing apples with apples the whole way through to 2028. As I said before, we are at the moment starting to look at other methodologies we can use once we hit either the 15% or the 2028. So my view is we continue as we are with a minimum of 2,000 trees being planted each year, plus the 20-odd thousand shrubs that we plant each year. So we do quite a lot of planting, and I strongly recommend that we continue that, whilst in the background we do look at how we can do this in a more strategic way in the future.
Yeah, thank you. Just to clarify, I agree, we should continue. I'm just saying that it is very crude. It doesn't talk about maturity, it doesn't talk about the types of trees and so on. And I agree with you, we need a more comprehensive strategy in terms of incentivising private developers about mature tree retention, and so a comprehensive strategy rather than just relying on this. So thank you, I agree with you, and I'm really glad to hear you're looking at more comprehensive measures.
Thank you. Any further questions, councillors? Is there a opposition? As there's no opposition, the item's carry. Yes,
Mayor,
Councillor Mamedi.
I'd like to congratulate our staff. I remember this back in 2016 when it came to council, and it was at 9.9%, I think, and we had a target by 2028 that it's going to be 15%. I thought that was quite ambitious, actually, at the time. But 10 years on, we're at 14.5%. Looks like we're going to get to 15%. So I think this council has done the hard work and been committed for the last decade. And I know in past budgets when there's been, $500,000, $800,000, when we could have put it into capital, councillors around this table voted that we buy more trees, mature trees, and plant them to get to that target. So I'd like to congratulate all the staff who have done a fantastic job over the last decade, and it looks like we're going to reach this target. So well done.
Thank you, Councillor Mamedi. Okay, we're going to go to next item 4.2.6, DTP, Department of Transport, Activity Centre Programs, Draft Council Submissions. Moved by Deputy Mayor Dan, seconded by Councillor Garrard. Are there any questions? Yes, Councillor Garrard.
Through you, Mayor. My question is around this Activity Centres program is basically Big Brother coming and telling us to increase our density. And whilst we're all very happy to have more density within the CBD, one of my concerns, and I have three questions, but my first concern is what assurances do we have that our locally developed planning work, including carefully considered height limit setbacks and interface protections that have been developed over a number of years, particularly in Springvale and Nova Park, are not rejected and thrown out for this one-size-fits-all policy?
Thank you, Councillor Garrard. Could I please ask Mr. Brett Jackson to respond?
Through you, Mayor, and again, thank you for the question, Councillor Garrard. Obviously, our submission strongly advocates that the state government do revert back to the existing structure plan, height, setbacks, laneways, etc., that exist in those documents that, as you said, were developed over a number of years using some quite thorough analysis and planning to make sure we got the right outcomes for the community. Officers have also been talking to DTP officers in recent times, reinforcing our view that it's really important to retain those existing controls that provide a balance of both housing growth, which is what this overall program is seeking to achieve, while also protecting the amenity and the livability of these activity centres, because each one of them is unique. So it's about making sure that we can protect that as well as see some housing growth. So we are continuing to push for that as strongly as we can.
Thank you, Councillor Garrod.
Portion of this where developments meeting height and setback standards would effectively be automatically approved under the state government's plan. And so does that mean that even council would lose the ability to refuse developments where there are legitimate concerns regarding amenity, infrastructure capacity and neighbourhood impacts? And secondly, does this remove all of the community's rights, not even to push back on developments, but even to be notified of developments?
Mr. Jackson.
Through you, Mayor, and again, thank you for the question. It does appear that deemed to comply provisions will exist in what they're calling the core areas of the activity centre, so that's the central part of that. Now, the exact detail of what that means in terms of being able to make council being able to make decisions on matters where they do comply with the heights and the setbacks, it's unclear at the moment because we haven't been provided with that level of detail, and the same goes for notification provisions. The detail we've been provided with doesn't clarify that for us, and that's one of the comments we've made in our submission, our draft submission, is that greater clarity really needed to be provided up front so that the community and council understood what the potential controls would be for these areas. So, yeah, at the moment we're not 100% sure.
Thank you. Any further questions, councillors? No. Is there a opposition? As there's no opposition, the item's carried. Yes, Philip Dunn.
Thank you very much, Mayor. I just wanted to make a couple of comments about this item. And that these proposed activity centres, these plans are an opportunity for us to get involved in and to help tackle the biggest economic and domestic issue of our time, and that is the issue of housing and housing supply. The draft maps from the department are currently out for consultation, and it's an opportunity for council to apply our local knowledge and expertise into the various activity centres which make up Greater Dandenong. In my view, what this submission does is provide a top-up on the drafts that were released by the department, and now it's an opportunity for us to provide that feedback, and it's something that we should seriously encourage the department to look at. On the matter of activity centres more generally, the opportunity to deliver housing where people actually want to live and where they don't have to rely on a car for every trip and where growth can support stronger local economies is a welcome one. Housing will not pop up overnight. This is a process that would be decades in the making. And to be clear, this is a planning policy, and planning is simply one of the levers that governments can pull to boost supply. This change is necessary, and I know this, Mayor, because I speak to young families in my ward, families who have moved out to our communities because they recognise that despite what some of the critics say, it's an area that continues to improve when it comes to access to amenities and jobs. It's an area where young families can see a future that they can build for themselves and their young children. Now, on a topic as big as this, there is of course room for debate and nuance, but there seems to be this rubbish perpetuated amongst some who oppose these plans that council's failure to quote-unquote push back on this is somehow seen as weak and unprincipled. I refuse to accept that a small, loud minority of voices can choose to hold us back in the past and to accelerate the crisis in housing that we see today. I refuse to accept that this loud minority can prevent the progress that we are trying to build to get future generations into homes. And Mayor, I refuse to allow them to speak over the voices of the many who don't have that stake in our economy. This policy, with council's considered feedback, is the plan for growth that is inevitable. It's an opportunity to be part of creating a vibrant neighbourhoods with real connections to economic and social opportunities. And I look forward to boarding that train that takes us closer to it. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Dan. Now we're going to go to the next item, which is 4.2.7, recommended appointed for a member of the Sustainability Advisory Committee. Moved by Councillor Garrard. Is there a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Yim. Are there any questions? No. Is there any opposition? If there's no opposition, the item is carried. Councillor Garrard. Yeah.
I just want to speak after that.
Yeah.
I just wish to congratulate the 6 independent members that have just been appointed and thank them for their interest and their dedication. Graham Pearman, Peter O'Loughlin, apologies for any mispronunciations, Dean Mastrioni, Heath Evans, Isabel Nash, and Danish Jayashurani.
Thank you. Now we're going to go to next item, item 4.2.8, appointment of council representative to South East Leisure Pty Ltd. Is there any nominations, please?
I'd like to nominate Councillor Deputy Dan for the remainder of the 2025-26 mayoral term. Council appoints Councillor Dan as the council representative of South East Leisure, Tri-Geelington.
Is there any seconder?
Happy to second.
Okay, seconded by Councillor O'Reilly. Are there any questions?
Any other nomination?
No? Okay.
Any other nomination? Any other nomination?
Any other nominations?
Mayor, I would be happy to nominate Councillor Garrard as well.
Okay. All right, so you want to provide your statements. You've got 2 minutes each.
Thanks. Thanks very much, Mayor. Look, our leisure centres play a really important role in our community, and they're places where people not only look after their physical health, but it's just as valuable for their mental health. And through that connection towards preventing isolation as well. And in a city as diverse as ours, sport and rec is what often brings people together, no matter what your background is. It's a universal language that we can all understand and communicate with. I've always held the belief that no matter your postcode, you deserve access to high quality facilities. And with the Dandenong Wellbeing Centre on its way, a centre that's a genuinely world-class development right here in our community, there's a real opportunity for council to help shape how South East Leisure continues to deliver those services to support our growing and changing community. My legal background and experience in risk assessment, governance and strategic thinking provides me with those skills to understand how we can balance those commercial realities, but also with the responsibilities that we have to keep our community at the core of everything that we do. The organisation needs to operate sustainably, but the primary role of the council representative is advocacy and making sure that residents and members are always at the centre of decision making, because at the end of the day, these facilities belong to them. As someone who's a member myself, I know how important it is. I know firsthand how important this is when it comes to positive customer experiences. I see who uses these centres, I see the value that they bring, and I know how much people rely on them as part of their routine wellbeing. So if appointed, I'd welcome the chance to work more closely with the board and to help guide its direction in a way that reflects the needs and the aspirations of our.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Dan. Councillor Garrard.
Thank you, Mayor, and I wish to thank Councillor Dan for putting his hand up. I think that's a really important thing for him to do that. However, I do feel at this moment that SEL, which is, as Councillor Dan pointed out, which is managing all of our sporting and entertainment facilities, is entering a complex and a high-risk phase with a new CEO and a major facility that... apologies, I have just lost my place. With a major facility, a $120 million facility coming online. That is exactly the point in which you need somebody with my level of experience, with a strong history in governance, financial discipline, strategic oversight. All of this matters right now. I bring over 30 years of senior management and strategic leadership, in addition to 6 years as a councillor, a long-term member of our Audit and Risk Committee, and I am a current member of the Australian Institute of Company Directors, which is the peak governance body in Australia. I also bring board experience locally, including being a member of the Dandenong Market Board. My focus will be at having a strong focus on governance and accountability, ensuring SEL has a clear risk framework and well-defined risk appetite, along with tight financial management, so the organisation becomes more financially sustainable. Equally important is ensuring that SEL programs and employment practices reflect and engage our diverse community, bringing meaningful partnerships that deliver real outcomes. I believe my governance background and experience equip me well to support SEL and in this next difficult phase, and I would greatly appreciate any councillor support in this endeavour. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Garrard. Just to let you know with the process, so councillors only can vote once. So I'm going to call for, not like in order. So all those in favour for Deputy Mayor Dan, now raise your hands. So we've got Councillor O'Reilly, Councillor Yim, Deputy Mayor Dan, Mayor Sophie Tan, Councillor Mamedi and Councillor Trung. Those in favour? Oh, and Councillor Alice Fongley. And those in favour of Councillor Garrard, raise your hand. So Councillor Garrard and Councillor Dole. So
thank you, Mayor. Once again, we see the Labor Alliance working well in this council.
Point of order, Mayor.
Yes.
Like making it political at this point, I think is highly inappropriate.
It
when
is,
people
yes.
are just voting on the merits of the position.
Take that.
Happy to retract that statement.
Okay, so now we just need a motion that the reminder of the 25-26 mayoral term councillor appoints Councillor Philip Dunn as the council representative for to the South East Leisure Pty Ltd. We need a mover and a seconder, so we can move this item. Moved by Councillor Medi, a seconder by Councillor O'Reilly. Yep. Any other question, opposition? Then this item's carried. Congratulations, Philip Dunn. Right, so we're going to go to the next item. Item 4.2.9, S6A, Instrument of Delegation by Council to member of Council staff under the Planning and Environment Act 1987. Is there a mover, please? Councillor O'Reilly.
Councillor O'Reilly.
Thank you. Seconded by Deputy Mayor Dan. Are there any questions? Is there any opposition? Yes, question, Councillor Garrard.
Through you, Mayor, given recent state planning reforms are moving more decisions into administered pathways, does this delegation simply reflect those legislative changes? So in short, are councillors going to have less say through this delegation instrument in the planning decisions affecting our municipality as distinct from the previous framework?
Thank you. Could I please ask Mr. Manifagasa-Suvam to respond? Thank you.
Through you, Mayor, essentially it definitely is that it is being reflected in regards to the changes to the planning laws. The only other item, there was one aspect there around sale of council assets, and that item just means now that managers and executive members can do that in terms of any excess vehicles or whatever in their areas.
Thank you. Any further questions? Is there any opposition? Okay, so abstained by Councillor Garrard.
I'd like to record abstention as well. Thank you, Mayor.
So abstained by Councillor Garrard and Councillor Bob Milkovich. Okay. All right, and the item's carried. Item 4.2.10, report on matters discussed at councillor briefing session and pre-council meetings.
Happy to move that, Mayor.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Dan, seconded by Councillor Mamedi. Are there any questions? Is there any opposition? As there's no opposition, the item is carried. Item 4.2.11, list of registered correspondence to mayors and councillors. Moved by Councillor Mamedi, seconded by Councillor Loitrung. Are there any questions? Is there any opposition? No opposition, the item is carried. Item 5, reports from councillors, delegate members and councillors' questions. I'll start with Councillor Alice Fongley. You're online. You can go first. We can't hear you.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to say thank you, everyone, because it's in the last Lunar New Year, I back to my country to visit my mom. So when I back here, I just enter some event. It's just 2 events in Ramanda Festival in Burn Park. And after that, 2 hours after, I go to Ramadan night in the last night in Thomas Street. That's one I feel is really successful. Without 15 nights, they got around is 700,000. So I would like to say that is a support for this one for the next year, something like that. That's it.
Thank you, Councillor Lay. We're going to go with Councillor Garrard.
Sadly, tonight, I want to begin by acknowledging the Taha community, which is a valued, who are a valued and long-standing part of our community. Many members of this community are deeply distressed by the way they have been recently politically targeted and publicly demonised. Only about a year ago, our federal MP, Julian Hill, was praising this community and seeking their support for his re-election and promising to stand with them. Yet when global events turned attention against Shia Muslims, that support seemed to disappear. Instead, this community found itself punished with the withdrawal of significant and much needed community funds. The Taha community simply mourned the passing of their spiritual leader as the religion dictates and has been the custom for 1400 years. The spiritual leader is the equivalent to Catholics of the Pope or the Dalai Lama or any other head of a religion, and they are required as part of the dictates of their religion to mourn the death of their spiritual leader. Yet suddenly, when they privately did this in the privacy of their own facility, suddenly we are being told that this was inappropriate and that we are being told who to mourn and who we cannot mourn. And this community in federal parliament was targeted, and the world has come down on this group. Either we have freedom of religion as outlined in our constitution, which forbids government for prohibiting groups from practicing their religion. Either we have that right for everyone or we have it for no one. So to the Taha community, I want to say this clearly. You are valued members of Greater Dandenong. We stand with you. We stand firmly against any form of Islamophobia or religious discrimination. My question tonight relates to the toxic waste facility that this council, and we've lost our environmental person here, this council has been advocating for many years for for the toxic waste of all of Victoria, which we have been absorbing for 30 years, for the closure of that facility. Currently, the dispute on that facility is around the 35% limit. So that site, across the whole site, can only absorb 35% of, I'm going to call it toxic waste, just for simplicity. And the EPA is of the mindset that that has been breached, and therefore there can be no further expansion. However, Viola, the organisation that run this site, are fighting that and believe that they have a case to recalibrate or change the accounting system so that the 35% limit has not been breached. And they have a number of other ways in which they're pushing against this. My question to the council is, are we firmly standing against the expansion into Cell 21 of this site, as has been our policy? And are we going to request that EPA, A, stick to the 35% limit, and B, do not recalibrate or use a different methodology of counting the amount of toxic waste that has been absorbed? And are we going to stand strong against this push?
Could I please ask Mr. Manifagasa to respond, please?
Yeah, through Mayor. Yes, council is stand firm on closure of the site and not further expansion of to that site. We are pretty clear on that. We are aware of the Veolia, the operator, is challenging that with the EPA. There's a process, it's happening. So what we have done is we have gathered some information, and then we'll be briefing councillors in 2 weeks' time on further details.
My other question is, have we been greatly abandoned by the state government that has made no provision for another site to absorb the toxic waste of Victoria, which would have a lead time of probably 5 years to establish? And so what Viola are actually saying is that we have you over a barrel because your state government hasn't made any planning provision for another site to be opened up, and therefore basically we are going to get our way because the state government has not done that work. Is that correct?
Through you, Mayor, I can't provide any comment on that, but we are working on actual facts and then working through the details. We are planning to have a public report in April, so we are happy to sort of consider all of that part of that reporting.
Thank you. Any further questions? Councillor Garrett? Thank you. Councillor O'Reilly?
Thank you, Mayor. No report as such. Just wanted to follow up with the relevant director regarding the situation in Springvale Shopping Activity Centre with traders dumping rubbish at the end of the day near our waste bins. It's continuing to be highlighted to me by community leaders in Springvale and residents. And I understand that the director is working on potential long-term solutions or better solutions to it. Could I get an update from the director on when the director thinks the sort of timeline that we can see some of those options come forward for discussion? Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor O'Reilly. Mr. Manifagasa.
Through you, Mayor. So through our process, what we have worked is initially it's more on education, around what they need to do and what's their obligations for that. Now we passed that stage, and currently what we are doing is we are currently doing more surveillance and gathering information. And once we identify the shop owners who are using our public bins for their waste collection, we will go into a more enforcement actions. And that's the stage we are in, and we are in the process of gathering evidence at the moment. And I'm happy to provide further information once we have some concrete evidence against some of the shop owners.
Thank you. Any further question? That's it. Councillor Yim.
Thank you, Mayor. On Thursday, the 19th of February, I attended the opening of the Ramadan night market. I've since gone a few more times, and all of these times, the streets were full of people, which was wonderful to see. My favourite dish of the night was mantu, which is a traditional Afghan steamed dumpling. Big congratulations to Bright Community, especially Ahmed Gausi, who has greatly exceeded the success of last year. On Sunday, the 22nd of February, I watched the cricket grand final between the Melbourne Blues SC and the Lions SC, hosted by the Southern Cricket Association. Congratulations to Lions SC for their win. It was great fun to watch the community come together and have a great time. Special thanks to Mansour Kazi, Secretary of the Southern Cricket Association, for trying to teach me how to score and how the game works. I still don't get all of it, but it was great fun to learn. And on Sunday, the 8th of March, I celebrated the first International Women's Day with the Cambodian Women's Group with yourself, Mayor Sophie Tan. Excited to be part of the inaugural event with many familiar aunties and sisters attending. We enjoyed lunch, each other's company, and traditional Cambodian dance. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Yim. Deputy Mayor Dan.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to start by just quickly perhaps pushing back on some of the comments made earlier in regard to the conflict in the Middle East. And look, there's a variety of views on the conflict, but our job is to look at what happens here. The Iranian regime is a brutal regime, and it's committed significant atrocities on their own people, including many who have escaped to now call Melbourne home. And it's just not members of the Iranian community, but also members of the Afghan community who have been subjected to such atrocities. And everyone is entitled to their own political and religious beliefs, but with public funding comes with a responsibility to meet the views and the expectations of our community. And any group with pending grant funding who breaches this trust, regardless of who they are, does not meet this expectation at all. To move on, there's been a lot of positive stories that have come out of our community over the past month, and it's important to equally reflect on them as well. It's been an incredible month of celebration in our city, despite some of the conflicts and trauma that's happening to family members around the world at the moment. And starting, of course, with the Ramadan night market. This has quickly become one of the biggest events on our social calendar here in Greater Dandenong. And for members of the Muslim community, it's a time of deep faith and reflection. And this has been an opportunity for Dandenong to continue to showcase our potential and to challenge some of those outdated perceptions that people have of our community. I think multiculturalism works best when people share, when people mix with each other, when they learn from one another. And the night market has been a perfect example of that. You could see people from every single background wandering through the stalls, the packed streets, trying new foods and soaking up the atmosphere, and genuinely enjoying something that is both local and global at the same time. There was a feeling of joy, warmth, and welcome. And events like this don't magically appear out of thin air. There's an enormous amount of planning involved and, of course, hard work. So I want to genuinely thank the Bright Community Organisation for the work that they've done to bring such an incredible event to our own backyard. And, of course, a huge thank you as well to our events team. This work often happens behind the scenes. In fact, nearly all of it happens behind the scenes and on weekends as well, late nights and long hours, making sure that every detail is right so that the community can enjoy a safe, well-run event. So we all see that effort and we really appreciate it. It's also been a celebration across many cultures the past month, and I had the pleasure of opening the Lunar New Year celebrations at the Dandenong Market, which also featured famous chef Vincent Lim as well, who brought excitement with his cooking demonstrations. So that was really cool to see. And Lunar New Year coincided this year with Ramadan, and it also overlaps with Lent for many of our friends in the Christian community. As we're now heading towards Easter shortly, including Orthodox Easter and Passover for our friends in the Jewish community, I think when you step back and you look at all of this together, it really highlights how lucky we are to live in a place where so many traditions and cultures and even histories can be celebrated side by side. So our diversity is at its best when we share with each other, when we open our doors. And the organisers of the night markets and the countless other celebrations that have happened should be really proud of their own effort.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Dunn. Councillor Mamedi.
Thank you, Mayor. It was on the 19th of February when Ramadan started, and there was approximately about 100 people in this chamber to start the process of having the Ramadan night markets in Dandenong. We had many members of parliament and yourself and the CEO and other councillors in this room, and after we broke the fast, we quickly moved towards the market, and where the Prime Minister of Australia, the Honourable Anthony Albanese, visited the Ramadan night market. It was great to have him here, and I think it made the news nationally. So Dandenong was on the map nationally, which was fantastic. The Prime Minister, you know, I was very close to him that night, as you were, seemed to very enjoy his time, and he loved being amongst our community. And even the next day, he was on national radio mentioning the Ramadan night market in Dandenong, and it was a great event to start off, to kick off the Ramadan night market, which ended only yesterday, the 15th of March. So originally it was for 16 nights. Unfortunately, we did get rained out one night, so 15 fabulous nights in Thomas Street and the surrounding areas. I'm just giving it a rough estimate. I think about $30 million was injected into our local economy. Every restaurant in Thomas Street, Lonsdale Street, Walker Street, you know, all around the surrounding Dandenong were chock-a-block. So the market was busy. Approximately 700,000 people visited over 15 nights. Everyone in the city of Greater Dandenong, or city of Dandenong, CBD area, were very happy with an event. It does take a lot of work. I'd like to congratulate the Bright Community Organisation on delivering this event, but also to our council staff, to our events team, our regulatory team, and I'm sure there's other teams that got involved in the process, you know, either issuing permits or, you know, doing an inspection on the foods to keep everybody safe. Everything was well above board. But what was I impressed about, Madam Mayor, was that how our community behaved. To have 700,000 people come to an event over 15 nights, I believe that not one arrest was made. Vic Pol was there every day. An army of security was there. You were in the safest place you wanted to be. And that took a lot of work from our dedicated team at council who worked with Bright Community Organisation over many, many months. It just didn't happen overnight. So this was something that put Greater Dandenong on the national map. And wherever I went throughout the month, they'd always come up to me and say, "Hey, Ramadan night market, how's that going? It's fantastic. I can see it on TikTok and Facebook and all other social medias." And that made me feel proud. Since the day I joined council over 20 years ago, I've been trying to change the perceptions of Greater Dandenong. And I think we're onto something here. This can be something that people, not only in the state, can talk about, but people from all over Australia and international. You know, if we continue to work with the organisations that deliver these events, Greater Dandenong is a hub of these festivals and events that, you know, we held, you know, in Springvale. We've been doing it for many years with the Lunar New Year, but now in Greater Dandenong with the Ramadan Night Market is just brought Dandenong alive. I was just saying before that you walk around Dandenong now, on the lower levels at the shop fronts, there's not many vacancies. They're all full, and people want to rent the shops. So as soon as they go up for lease, they get them pretty quickly. So this is the strength that Greater Dandenong is showing, resilience. We all know the Dandenong market's a powerhouse and having over 5 million visitors a year. But I think we've just, you know, coming to something really special. And it's really good to have the council officers, through the Chief Executive Officer herself, who was at the Ramadan Night Market on many nights to support it. The executive team was there with their families and friends, which was nice to see. I think most of the councillors attended, not only one night, on many nights. So this event was supported by this council and also with the community 100% behind it. It's interesting times ahead. We might have outgrown Thomas Street, I think, and the surrounding areas. So I'm sure Bright Community Organisation with council staff will have talks in the future. You know, who knows where it might end up. But one good thing is it's probably becoming too big for Thomas Street. We might need to be looking at relocating it. So as I'd said before with the Nauru's Festival, you know, it was originally at the showgrounds, now it's at Dandenong Park. So, you know, these things that can grow, supported by local government and state government and federal government, if for that instance, the Ramadan Night Market was supported. Also, I'd like to mention the Premier of Victoria, the Honourable Jacinta Allen, also visited the Ramadan Night Market and spent over 2 hours with her son. And believe it or not, she actually went on the Ferris wheel, which I was surprised. I had to ask her twice, do you really want to go on the Ferris wheel? She said yes. So there was rides for the kids, but also for the adults who had a great time as well. And also a week after that, the Premier invited me to the Premier's Iftar dinner with 800 other people in the community to break the fast with the Premier, which was really good. And it was people of all different faiths and backgrounds that the Premier invited to break the fast at her Iftar dinner. I attended many other Iftar dinners throughout the month, and people are still fasting. Eid is expected to be on Friday the 20th, 21st and 22nd of March. So from Friday, Saturday, Sunday, different groups might celebrate it on Friday or Saturday or Sunday, but I think over those 3 days, the celebrations will occur. And I'd like to wish people who are celebrating Eid Mubarak. Also, 3 or 4 weeks ago, on the 17th of February, I represented you, Madam Mayor. We had the Ambassador of Kosovo to celebrate the Independence Day. Her Excellency, Miss Yetmira Shala, wanted to present you with, this is called the Goddess on the Throne, to put in the mayoral cabinet upstairs. The Goddess on the Throne is one of the earliest examples of art identified within Kosovo. The 6,000-year-old small terracotta figure was discovered near Pristina in the mid-20th century. It represents a female deity reflecting the cult of the Great Motherhood. The Goddess on the Throne, preserved in the Kosovo Museum, and is one of the most precious archaeological artifacts of Kosovo. It is adopted as a symbol of the capital of Kosovo, Pristina. So I'd like to present you that on behalf of the Ambassador of Kosovo.
Thank you, Councillor Mamedi.
Okay, ready? 1, 2.
Thank you, Councillor Rose. Also, Madam Mayor, the Ambassador has visited Dandenong on many occasions, and she noticed in our library that we have books from many different nationalities, languages, but there was no Albanian books. So I've got, I think, 20 or 30 books here that the Ambassador has donated, and she would also like these books to be put in our library in Dandenong. So I'll pass that on to you, and I'm sure you'll pass it on to our library team, who will be able to stock our shelves with Albanian books. So that were all the fantastic things that happened, Madam Mayor, but I've had some disturbing phone calls and messages and emails from people in our community around the Hemming Street precinct. There's a massage parlour that's opening up in Hemming Street. I'm not sure, I don't think it's opened yet, but it's been advertised on the window that they're hiring. And I've had parents from the Dandenong West Primary School call me, very upset that their children are going to have to walk past this shop front in Hemming Street and ask what council can do. I'll be asking that question in a moment, but also the people that have businesses Hemming Street, like the cafes, etc., were also very disappointed and have asked me if you, Madam Mayor, can write a letter to the Minister, the responsible Minister, and also to our local member, just to say that our community doesn't support businesses like this in areas where they're opposite a primary school and also our local cafes. So my question is, Madam Mayor, what can council do when these massage parlours are opened up in these areas that are so close to our community?
Thank you, Councillor Mehdi. Mr. Mehdi Fagasa-Subban, do you want to respond?
Yes, through you, Mayor. The state government made those services more legal in 2022, and from a planning point of view, we can't do much around that. It is treated as any other business. What council can do is, as similar to you mentioned, we can advocate to our local members and also state government to look at more tightening of those rules and regulations. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Manivasa-Gasford. So if we can do that, Madam Mayor, it'd be much appreciated.
Through you, Mayor, can I just add to that, though, the whole sector did highlight, at the time the legislation changed, that there was a lot of community concern from the sector about the potential for this type of event to happen. So I think it's really, you know, as the market has matured and people are understanding what the new rules are, we're starting to see these problems arise. So hopefully other local governments will raise it as well. I will also raise it with the Municipal Association of Victoria, because we will not be the only council dealing with this challenge.
Thank you. Councillor Loitron.
Yeah, thanks, Madam Mayor. On last week, I had an opportunity to work with the local MP, Mr. Tan Minh Heng, at his street store to meet the resident at the Arthur Road Shopping Centre in Swinville South. During the last 3 weeks, I worked very hard to organize the resident to participate in the cleanup of Shoulder Day. There were 82 people worked with on that day. Council staff attended well, and Council helped us to remove the rubbish away. Thank you very much, Andrea. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Loitron. Councillor Dell.
Thank you, Mayor. It's great to be back after being on extended leave. I wanted to thank my fellow councillors as well as the council executive team and council staff for assisting during this time. Many appreciations also to my residents for their understanding, and I look forward to catching up with you all. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay. For me, I've been really busy as usual. Since the last council meeting, I've been to many events. So I'm not going to go through. I think got more than 20 on my list. So I'm not going to go through the whole lot. I just want to mention all the highlighted ones. So firstly, obviously the opening of the Ramadan night market. So this year is huge, as Councillor Mehdi and many councillors mentioned before. We had an honour to have the Prime Minister here, the Premier, many ministers and MPs, many mayors as well from different council visit us. So I want to congratulate the Bright Community Organisation, plus our staff, especially our events and festival team who help a lot to make these events happen. It's huge compared to last year. As you know, 700,000 people attended in the last 30 days. So huge, and it's increased, especially for our local business as well, for local economy. I went to a lot of events, especially the Lunar New Year was started, so different organisations. I also had an honour to attend the Future Victorian Summit launch. It's like a lunch hosted by Vexi and the Harrison. So the Prime Minister was there, as well as the Premier and Opposition Leader as well on 25th of Feb. On the same day, I had the citizenship ceremony, which is welcome 300 new residents to our city. Other events, especially with GSEM, so I attended GSEM, which is the Greater South East Melbourne. So meeting in Canberra, got my report here to table as well. So we meet up with a lot of MPs, ministers, which is a great success actually for this trip, and plus the CEO was there as well with many other mayors. So participation in the Canberra meeting delivered a clear value for GSEM councils. We've got like highlight different 8 councils altogether. So both in terms of immediate intelligence and long-term positioning. So firstly, councils gain direct insights into Commonwealth MPs and ministers' priorities. So this year you can see a lot of MPs, most of their priority focus on housing, manufacturing and climate issue as well. So great to see that. So I will table the whole report tonight. So it's going to be a few pages on that one. I also attended International Women's Day. So there's a few International Women's Days happened last month. Different organisations, International Women's Day celebrated here at the Drum, which is hosted by the Southeast Business Networks. We do had a great key speaker, Sarah Davidson, great life experience as a person, goes through a lot her life, and goes through business and family, which is great to hear from a young person. And many other events. So that's all from me. I've tabled all my questions as well. And Ms. Vera, do you have any questions to be tabled from last council meeting?
Yes, Madam. Mayor, here they are.
Thank you so much. Now we're going to go to the next item. So item 6, urgent business. As we got no urgent business, we go to item 7, close of business. I declare the meeting closed at 8:44 p.m. Thank you. Have a great evenings.